Ni hao Nyang. Hello, I am the Dark Fae, and welcome back to Confessions of a First-Time Dungeon Master. As always, if you missed the last session, I'll put a link to it up in the corner for you. You can check it out, catch up on what you missed, then come back here to find out what happened next. We're now, I believe, in session 35, so let's begin. Alright, so for this session, we were down a player, so I did kind of shorten things a little bit, / there was really only kind of this creature in front of them and then the sewer sort of to get through, so it wasn't like you didn't really miss out on like the main part of the tower yet, so it was kind of okay. But so our party, along with their allies, are kind of approaching this creature outside the culvert, and it has just exploded Dark Souls style into this kind of oozing, corrupted sort of monstery thing. As far as I knew, the plan had been kind of to try to get everyone in with kind of the least amount of combat and damage as possible. So everyone rolls initiative, and essentially the way that this combat kind of goes, I'm still a little bit iffy about kind of how I handled it, but in the end it worked out because the helpers are there to help to survive and basically take the blows and use up the spell slots and stuff for them. So basically Varosha, who is a 10th level cleric, she casts Polymorph on this creature. It fails its wisdom save. And she basically turns it into a sheep. So it's not like super, it's not really very harmful anymore. It's not much of a threat anymore. So while it's a sheep, basically they all manage to kind of get outside. This poor little sheep is trying to... Sheeps don't have attacks, by the way, in D&D, or at least the creature that I was using in D&D Beyond didn't. Just like trying to use its little hooves didn't really accomplish much. With, however, the close proximity to the tower does kind of mess up some spells, and eventually the creature does break out of the polymorph. Pretty much they all are within the tower at this point, and Neradia is basically starting to cast the spell Tiny Hut. For those of you who don't know, Tiny Hut, useful wizard spell that kind of just creates a dome of protection for 8 hours. It does, however, take a minute to cast. So it kind of ended up that the characters were stalling a bit, kind of not really wanting to move out and engage. So basically Varosha was kind of doing the whole one-man stand thing, trying to keep the enemies at bay while everyone else got in safely. The two remaining rogues that were helping them did get thrown around by the creature, ended up going unconscious, and they weren't healed in time. They lose their minds to this mist. So there were a couple rounds where they started to get up. They don't like immediately start attacking, and they don't regain like all of their hit points when they do kind of regenerate. But Varosha, luckily with her spiritual weapon, and I think Warhammer, were able to kind of keep the enemies down long enough for everyone to get inside and for Neradia to complete her spell. So now they are all within the protection of Tiny Hut, and they decided to take a short rest since a few of them did take a bit of a beating within the maze. Varosha does kind of help heal a little bit, and so Neradia kind of mentions that she can keep this like culvert entrance, which is about 10 feet wide, blocked off, but she needs to remain inside the tiny hut in order to do so, and has to recast it every 8 hours. The group kind of agrees to go on forward. Varosha agrees to go with them so that she will basically guide them to the end of the sewer and then come back in order to help Neradia make sure she doesn't die. So essentially, now there's like a sewer dungeon crawl kind of a deal. So I'm gonna put up a map of Chamber 1 just to kind of show you what they were dealing with. And I explained basically that around all of the different sewer channels, there was like a 5-foot, pretty narrow kind of stone pathway kind of built along the wall that you could walk through. And then there were these like sewer grates every so often that kind of are spewing the sewage into the channels. In my head, I just pictured them kind of walking along the paths, kind of avoiding the grates a little bit, and it'd be fine. But I think I accidentally explained it in a way where it was like the liquid spewing out seemed impassable, or they wanted to avoid it as much as possible. I didn't say it was like a pipe sticking out or anything, I just said it was like a grate, but anyways, so they move along the wall, always turning right, because apparently Basil just knows to only turn right in dungeons. And eventually they kind of make it like 3/4 away through the sewer to kind of that big square area, which is basically a pile of dead people and refuse and garbage, and it's just quite a large mound, and it smells awful in here. Although, actually, before getting to that, I should say that coming across like one of the areas where there are pipes, they decided to avoid the pipe and then jump across the gap. So the gap is 10 feet wide, meaning they have to jump like 15 feet kind of to make it to the other side. Not jumping is, in D&D, the mechanics work that you can jump a score equal to your strength score if you get a running start. And none of them have a strength over 15, except for Varroja and I think Ivar. So I kind of have them roll a combination of athletics checks and acrobatics checks to see if they can A, make it across without landing in the water, and then B, slipping and falling. Some of them take a bit of damage, like running into the wall or kind of plummeting to the ground, falling prone, but Valkyrie does dip her toes in the water as they first try to make like a rope bridge across with like Tyrell anchoring it, and they take a dagger, hammer it into the wall, tie the rope to that. And honestly, a pattern that I've noticed is any sort of athletic skill check, whether it's climbing or jumping across some sort of a gap or getting out of a pit and like climbing or something like that, those are the tasks that take our party the longest. It's so strange, but because it took them a good 45 minutes maybe to jump to get 6 people across this gap. Maybe 30 to 45 minutes across this gap. But eventually they all make it fine, make it to that area where they see like the pile of corpses and stuff. I mentioned that as they look up, they can kind of see like a crack of light, almost as if there's like a partially like an opening in the ceiling, almost. It's like partially open. However, they do spot some sort of like large insect, like centipede like creature that kind of seems to scurry across the ceiling before kind of going out of sight. And then that on the pile there are more of these like large centipede like creatures. These are carrion crawlers, which are gross large bugs known for eating like rotten flesh and like awful and stuff like that. So they nope out of there and find that there's another passageway that leads into like another chamber. So part 2 kind of the sewer crawl. After a little bit of exploring and Varroja separating a little bit, scouting ahead of some, they find there's another path out with a door, and they do spot some sort of reptilian creature kind of in the water before it dives down. And so while moving on ahead a little further along, there Tyrell, I think, is making the jump across, and one of the alligators leaps up out of the water but clamps onto his leg. They roll initiative and they start fighting some sewer alligators. And these are like not normal alligators, but they're kind of like pale almost in color and slimy, and then they kind of have like a second maw coming out of like their first long kind of a snout, almost a little alien style. Eventually, like 2 more kind of hear the commotion and come down from like the passageway further down to help attack. Umric, Tyrell were mostly the ones being targeted because Umric, who I should have mentioned, did fall into the sewer water earlier and has actually contracted sewer plague, which is fun. I'll show you what sewer plague does, but symptoms manifest in 1d4 days, so it'll be 3 days that I rolled, and then he'll probably just cure it as a restoration. But he jumps in the water to attack these things, and then 2 more come, and so he and Tyrell are kind of the main ones that are attacking these, so they take the most damage, get down pretty low, but luckily don't go unconscious or anything. Feroja able to help a little bit and absorb some of the attacks. And then eventually they're able to kill all the sewer alligators, and then get back up to stay safe, like stone level, and then make their way to the door where they take a short rest, or are about to take a short rest, and then we ended it there so that way we could kind of roll hit dice and discuss when everyone is present. So, yeah, so this session I think went pretty well. I really like doing dungeon crawls and sewer crawls kind of like this, so this is kind of like, it wasn't like a full-blown like find your way through this winding tunnel kind of thing, getting lost with a lot of monsters. I was thinking of this as like a half kind of dungeon crawl, so the maze is kind of 1. This is half, and then the tower is going to be like a big one, so it's like 2.5 dungeon crawls, which is a lot, honestly. There's so much to prep, and it's really, this is the most I've prepared in a long time, but I feel really proud of like what I have done and like what I've made and put together, and I don't know, I just really like it. But I will say one thing that I continually don't like is playing an NPC helper. Like when I played Ferney when they went to the warehouse, playing Feroja and Neradia, at least in combat-wise situations, or it's like, I'm getting better about separating what the NPCs know versus what I know, but just like, I don't like solving problems for them, like with the creature, and just like polymorphing it is a very like quick and very effective solution because you basically negate all of its abilities, if not for like outside influence of like the magic scrambling thing that I made. So in the end, I'm trying to like help them because I know that it's going to be potentially like a lot of combat situations up ahead, but yeah, we'll see how things go in the tower. I'm still kind of designing the different puzzles and different combat situations and stuff like that, so we'll see how it goes. Hopefully my players will feel like strained, but not like it was too easy, you know? And I don't think it was too easy. I think they've already had some hardships, but I'll have to keep in mind kind of the grand scheme of it all too. So anyways, that was kind of this session, and next session they're getting into the tower, so that'll be really exciting. So thank you so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Hope you're excited for what's coming next in this Tower of Fright. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for notifications when I put out new videos. I love you all, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!